Okay, so let's continue with our Kafka tutorial series. So in the first video we have covered why do we need Kafka, because we have started Kafka tutorial series. So we should understand why we are learning Kafka, right? So we discussed, okay, what is the problem statement in our like real life examples, maybe in the retail industry, in the banking industry, in the telecom industry. So all the industry we have seen. And what was the problem statement if we have not used Kafka, and how the Kafka like resolve that problem statement. Then we look out the Kafka components and some basic architecture. Now we have to do the hands-on after that. So to do the hands-on, the infrastructure needs to be established. So the quick way to install the infrastructure using the Dockerized version, in which you don't need to worry about Java version and any variable. So we install the Redpanda. So and then we install the Redpanda console. Redpanda console is basically UI friendly, which you can access using browser. And we can see, okay, this is my topic, this is my message, this is my broker, so you can see everything. So when we install the Redpanda, so we install using one broker. So as I told you, if you see my architecture diagram, so let me go to the architecture diagram. So you could see we have this Kafka cluster where I am moving my cursor, and in that cluster either we have one broker or either we have two brokers, or maybe three or four. Mm, that is, either it's a single broker or multi brokers, right? So when we have installed Kafka using Redpanda, in the initial video we started using one broker. So in this video we will see how to install the Redpanda using three brokers. All right. So basically the architecture diagram will be, so we have like this class. So basically we are going to set up this infrastructure. So where we have broker one, broker two, and one more broker, broker three. Right. So how to do that? That is also straightforward, but a couple of things which we are going to cover in this video. So let me open this example. Right. So this is the same link which we have used in like earlier video when we have set up the single broker. So there are two tabs. One is single broker, one is the three brokers. So in the single broker, we reveal the YAML content. We just copy paste and did a little changes. As an example, like whatever the variables we don't need. So we just remove that and use that. Right. Now for the three brokers, we have to do. So in the single broker, when we done, so let me open the whiteboard. So in the three broker, like when we have set up the three broker, in the single broker, let me show you. So you could see we are using the Docker compose file. So we set up one Redpanda, and then we set up the Redpanda console, right? So one container and second container. So this is basically our infrastructure. Console is just basically a UI, like which ideally we don't need, but for the ease of our purpose, so that we don't need to run commands manually, we can just go through the UI and see our messages. All right. So let me open that whiteboard. It's taking some time. Right. So in this video, we have to set up three. So this is when we use one Redpanda, it set up one broker. So if we have set up three Redpanda, three broker, then what we have to do is we have to just copy paste this thing, and we have to like copy this thing, and we have to paste two more times. All right. The same thing we are going to do. So earlier what we did is we install our Redpanda. So this is our Redpanda, and this is our Redpanda console, and this is our Docker environment. This is our Docker environment. All right. So this is our Redpanda, and this is our Redpanda console. All right. So now we have to create two more brokers. So we have to create one more Redpanda, right? And then we have to create one more Redpanda within the same Docker, right? And earlier this Redpanda console is connected with this only. Now we need to figure it out how this Redpanda console should connect with all the three. All right. So basically this thing we have to achieve. All right. So let's try that. So let's open that. So this is our Docker compose file. We are going to update this itself. All right. So one thing is that let me just copy paste this. So I just copy pasted Panda and I pasted it. one more time, and one more time. Right, so I pasted two more times, right? And instead of just giving red panda, because these are the three different containers, so container name should be different, service name should be different. So let's give it red panda 0, right? And container name also give red panda 0. Similarly, second broker will give contain red panda 1, container name red panda 1. Similarly, third service red panda 2, and container name is also red panda 2. Okay, now everything will remain same. Now a couple of things we need to change. What are the things we need to change when we have set up one broker? So we have set up a couple of configuration setting, like what is Kafka address, advertise Kafka address, like all these things we have set up, and we are exposing these port 909, 909280828081. So these are getting exported within the our Docker container, right? Now if we if this service already running on 9092, it means the another service can't run on the 9092, right? It should be some other port. It can't run on 8081. It can't run on 8082. It should be on some other port, right? Similarly, Redpanda 2 should be on some other port, right? So how to do that? So like in the first video, if you even go through, 1 second, even if you go through like our official documentation, so official documentation, and if you noticed, for the internal ports, they are using 4 digit, and for the external, they are using 5 digit. But earlier, for the external port, we use 4 digit port, and for the internal, 5 digit. So that is fine. Doesn't matter whether you 4 digit or 5 digit, that is perfectly fine, because you have to adjust accordingly, right? And why I show you external 9092 and internal line 19092 to understand, okay, where we are using these ports. Now we are using three different services. So one option is either like if you are giving 9092, so maybe you give 9093 this and 9094 this port, right? Similarly, if you give 8082 this one, then you give 8083, and then you give 8084. All right. But if you give 8084, so there are not so many like if you give 8082, you give 8083, but what about this? Then you give again 8081. Then if you give you 8082, so 8082 already we have provided to this. So then this is going to be clash. All right. So what we will do is we will make 5 digit port external and 4 digit port internal. So we are just swapping the port, same as what is given in our official documentation. So just let's do for the first service. So we will make it 5 digit. So one he will be here, and remove one from here. One will be here, and remove one will be here, and then one will be here, remove one from here, and then one will be here, remove one from here, one will be here, and then remove one from here. So now we have to, instead of exposing 8081, we have to expose 18081. And similarly, instead of 802, we have to expose 18082. Instead of exposing 9092, we expose 19092. Right. So why we did this? Now it will be very easy for that. Why? So instead of 19092, we are going to change the first letter. We are going to change the first letter. So currently it is 9092 and 19092, but 19092 is being used. So let me copy paste all this thing 1 minute, just so that you can easily understand. So when we copy it, it looks like this, right? It look like this, right? But now if you see 19092 same, 19092 same, so it is going to be clashed. It will say, okay, this service already upon 19092, so you have to use some other port. So the easiest way is just replace one with two. So just replace one with two, replace one with two, replace one with two, replace one with two. So by this way, it's not going to be clash. Similarly, here, let me copy paste. So when we copy paste, it looks like this, but we don't have 1801. So we have two in the port starting with two. So we are going to change with two. Okay, so let's change with two. Similarly, for here, we will give three. We will give three. We will give three. we will give 3, and we will give 3. Similarly, in the port section as well. So if we give 3, we give 3, 3, and then 3, and then 3, and then 3. And same for the Red Panda. So instead of 19092, it should be 9092 because this is the internal communication, and it should be 8081, and that's fine. So we have done that. And one more thing. So now it depends upon Red Panda. Instead of Red Panda, it should be Red Panda 0. It should be Red Panda 0 because our name is not Red Panda. It should be Red Panda hyphen 0. All right. Okay. Now what is going to be happen? So our three container is going to be up Red Panda 0, Red Panda 1, Red Panda 2. And this Red Panda console is going to be connect with Red Panda 0. But in the cluster, all these three brokers should interconnect with each other. But here we did not mention anything like Red Panda 0 should connect with Red Panda 1, Red Panda 1 connect should with Red Panda 2. Right? We have not mentioned any such thing, right? So to connect this, so I already told you how uh, I already explained one of the video what is Kafka address, only what is advertised Kafka address, what is Panda proxy. So Panda proxy address is just for the REST APIs. Schema registry address is like just our schema address. Kafka address is used by the broker itself to communicate with itself along with the other brokers, and advertiser address is used for the external clients. All right. So external client could be Red Panda console, or it could be our producer and consumer. So internal means if the external client resides in the Docker network. So example Red Panda console. So that Red Panda console is external client. External. It is not part of the cluster. It is external client, right? But it is inside in the same Docker network. So it is external client. So it is going to use the advertised Kafka address, but it is inside the Docker network. So it is going to use the internal. So when we use producer and consumer, so producer and consumer are the external clients. So it is going to use the advertised Kafka address. But those producer and consumer external clients are outside this Docker network, then they are going to use this external address. All right. So same for this Kafka address. Kafka address is basically used to communicate between the brokers. To communicate between the brokers. So if there is so this broker needs to interact with this broker, right? So Red Panda 0 is going to connect with the Red Panda 1, because Red Panda 0 and Red Panda 1 both are part of the same Docker network. So if they're part of the same Docker network, so they are going to connect with some internal port, internal address, Kafka address, internal address, right? Okay. So now a couple of things. Yeah. So as I told you, we have to connect Red Panda 0 with Red Panda 1. So now you can question, okay, we can connect using Kafka address. So we have to mention something here like okay, just Red Panda 1 should connect with Red Panda 0 using the Kafka address, because in one of the video I already told you Kafka address is used for the internal broker communication, which is perfectly correct. But there are one more communication. One is the RPC communication. So if you go to the Google and if you type RPC protocol, so this is also type of a communication, remote procedure call communication, right? So broker communicate with each other using the Kafka address and along with the RPC address as well, along with the RPC address as well. So when they are going to use the Kafka address, and then when they are going to use the RPC address, right? So I have mentioned in this document. So let me go through that. Yeah. So here Red Panda broker use a RPC API to communicate with each other internally. This address used for RPC, remote procedure call. So it looks both Kafka address and the RPC address are used for internal communication. But then what is the difference? It both are used for the internal communication. Internal communication with if one broker wants to connect with the another broker. So on the one side, I am saying okay, it can communicate with Kafka address. On the other side, I am saying it also use the RPC address. But which address is going to be used when? Right. So the thing it depends upon the needs, right? So Kafka address it's going to be used when the broker needs to exchange some data with the topics, with the partition, or doing some replication. Then it is going to be use the Kafka address. But when it use the RPC address, when broker needs to coordinate beyond the Kafka specific task. So maybe it has to do some health check. It has to do some kind of management commands. it kind of do some configuration updates. Then they don't use the Kafka address, then they use the RPC address. So in this case, we are not going to connect in this case when the one broker, because we have to attach red panda 0 with red panda 1, right? So we are not going to attach using the Kafka address, we are going to attach using the RPC address. So we are going to attach using the RPC address, but we have not mentioned here RPC address, right? So first thing is that we have to specify the RPC address for red panda 0, RPC address for red panda 1, and RPC address for the red panda 2. Right. So go to our official documentation. So if you scroll down, so here you see RPC address, right? So this is given. So yeah, so this is given. So let me copy paste and let's come here. So let's give the RPC address. So I give the RPC address and let's give the advertise RP address. So we give the RP. So we provided the RPC address for the Red Panda 0. And what about the Red Panda 1? So we have to go to 3 brokers, reveal these. So 33145, and it's basically same only. It's basically same. So I can copy paste basically. Why the port is same in this case? So I will also tell you. 1 minute. So let me just set up the RPC address for all the brokers. And let me copy paste the advertise address as well. Advertise RPC address as well. Okay. So if you notice, like in these cases, in the Kafka address, advertise Kafka address, I change the port, like from 19092, then 29092, then 39092, right? But in the RPC address, I did not change. Why I did not change? Because if you see RPC address shows Red Panda 0, Red Panda 0. So and our Red Panda 1 address is Red Panda 1, Red Panda 1. So the whole URL is different. Whole URL is different. And similarly for Red Panda 2, we can give Red Panda 2 and Red Panda 2. Okay. But still these are not connected. We know these are going to be connected using the RPC address, but defining the RPC address doesn't mean that they are going to connect with each other, right? So it doesn't mean they are going to connect with each other. So how they are going to connect with each other? So there is one more parameter that is called seeds. So we have to provide one more parameter called seeds. So we have to use that. So Red Panda 1 is going to be connect with the it's going to be connect with the Red Panda 03314, which is the RPC address, which is the RPC address of the Red Panda 0. So we don't need to give the seeds parameter uh, in the first broker, because the first broker will act as a leader. So we don't need to give the seeds parameter in the Red Panda 0, but we need to give the seeds parameter. Seeds basically means like how to connect. Okay, connect. Seeds means connect with which broker? Connect with this broker, which is fine. Now the same kind of seeds parameter we need to give in the another, that is Red Panda 2. So we give seeds Red Panda 0. So Red Panda 2 should connect with the Red Panda 0, which is the leader. So now it has been connected. So what left? So it looks like everything is fine. Yeah, one more thing. One more thing. Uh, because now we have mentioned Red Panda 1 should connect with the Red Panda 0. So before the Red Panda 1 come should up, Red Panda 0 should be up, right? So here we should mention Red Panda 1 should depends on Red Panda 0. Same as like this parameter, right? Same as this parameter. Similarly for the Red Panda 2, because we say Red Panda 2 should connect with the Red Panda 0. So because if we are not going to mention depends on, then Red Panda 0, Red Panda 1, and Red Panda 2, all these three containers try to come up at the same time. So Red Panda 0 will get started, but Red Panda will going to get failed, because let's suppose the Red Panda 1 is trying to start early than the Red Panda 0. So it's going to be failed because this parameter has been defined and it is unable to find Red Panda 0. So because this is using Redpanda 0, so we have to mention the depends on parameter. So if you see here, they have mentioned depends upon Redpanda 0 and depends upon the Redpanda 0. So that's it. And let's try whether is there any issue or not. So let's try. So Docker compose up. So now you could see we have Red Panda 0, Red Panda 1, Red Panda 2, and Red Panda console. So we have four services. So it is going to first pull the layers because the if the Docker image doesn't exist locally, so it's trying to pull from the Docker hub because we are using the hub from like Docker hub images, right? So once it is going to pull, then first Red Panda 0 will be started. Then Red Panda 1, Red Panda 2, and Red Panda console is going to be started because Red Panda 1, Red Panda 2, and Red Panda console depends upon the Red Panda 0. All right. So let's see. And there seems some error. So it could see fail to test admin client connectivity. So it says fail to fail to test admin client connectivity, right? So if you go here, if you go here, they are exposing one more port. So I think we need to expose this port as well. Admin API is basically 9644. Okay. So basically we forget to change this. So we have mentioned Red Panda here. So ideally it should be Red Panda 0. It should be Red Panda 0 and it should be Red Panda 0 because now our service name is not Red Panda. It should be Red Panda 0. So let's try that. Docker compose up. Let's see whether it's going to be started or not, is we will get some other error or not. So it says successfully create a Kafka Connect service and it looks started. But whether it started or not, we will look using the local host. Doesn't look like it gets started. I see some error. Connecting to Kafka. So fail to test Kafka connection. Going to reset. Okay. So it looks it is still trying to Red Panda 9092 instead of the Red Panda hyphen 09092. So something is wrong. Something is wrong. So let's see. So we have mentioned Red Panda 09092. We have mentioned Red Panda 08081. Okay. So instead of 9092, so 9092 is internal address. So which is fine. 8081 is also internal address 9694. So somewhere we have mentioned something wrong. Let me figure it out. So because still it is trying to access the Red Panda 9092, which doesn't have anything because we have Red Panda hyphen 0. Red Panda is the old one when we are using only one broker, right? So because Red Panda console seems trying to connect with the Red Panda, but which looks wrong, right? So it should connect with the Red Panda hyphen 0. So let me check. So we have the Red Panda 0, Red Panda 0, and Red Panda 0. It looks okay. And we have mentioned Red Panda 0, Red Panda 0. Let me clear that Docker compose down and Docker system prune hyphen a. Maybe sometimes like it is trying to pick the old images. So let's see because we already corrected that Red Panda hyphen 0. So it should not give that error, but if it gives that error, then we will debug further. So it's try to pull Red Panda 0, Red Panda 1, Red Panda 2, and Red Panda console images, which is fine. Then it is going to be started that. Let's wait a couple of seconds. Yeah, so network has been created. So default Docker network has been created. So yeah, so any error? Red Panda 1, it started. So Red Panda 1 started. It still says Redpanda console giving some error, unable to open connection with the broker. Redpanda 9092. So it looks Red Panda console is facing some issue while connecting the 999092. Did we change the port correctly? Okay, so here also I think instead of the Red Panda, we have to give Red Panda 0. So if you see here also we have to change Red Panda 0 and here Red Panda 1. So now by looking at the error, we got to know the functionality of, let me show you. So if you noticed here, Red Panda console is our client, right? Some external client, but that external client exists in the Docker network, right? So, so first thing is that Red Panda console is the external client. A Red Panda console trying to connect with the Red Panda 0, and Red Panda console is the external client. So if it is the external client, it is going to connect with this address, which is fine. But with this address, will it going to use this, because it has further two more address. Because if it is external client, it is going to use this parameter. Okay. But this parameter has two address, internal and external. Because Red Panda console exists within the Docker container. So that's why it is going to use the internal address. So now it's trying to connect with the Red Panda 9092, which is wrong because our server is Red Panda 0. So we have figured it out the issue. So we have to give Red Panda 0. Here we can give Red Panda 0. In the advertise proxy address, let me figure it out. Advertise proxy address, do we need to change or not? So let's go to the official documentation. Um, yeah, advertise proxy address like we can also change. So Red Panda 0. So similarly, here Red Panda 1, Red Panda 1. Now here Red Panda 2, Red Panda 2. Now let's try to restart that. Docker compose up. So now it says Red Panda console has been successfully created or not. It still says Red Panda. Why it's now saying Red Panda? We already corrected that. Red Panda. Is anything left? Nothing has been left. Then why it is saying? Or do we need to? I think we need to again uh, down the images and clear that and make it up again. Let's wait that. After like delete the images and restarted it, it's successfully started and it's successfully connected. So let's try to browse the URL. So localhost 8080. So now we could see our three brokers are up. And on the overview page, you could see broker 0, broker 1, and broker 2. And in the broker 1, there is a crown icon. So it means broker 0 is our like leader, which is perfectly fine, and broker 1 and broker 2. And you could say we don't have the topics, right? We don't have the topics, and by default it is saying one topic exists. So which topic exists, right? So that is also the question, right? Which topic it is? So when the cluster is going to create, so there are some default topics. There are some default topics. Example underscore schema, which we are going to cover in some another video, but I can show you. I can show you. So if you do Docker PS, so we have Red Panda 2 up, Red Panda 1 up, Red Panda console, and Red Panda 0. So let's try to run the Docker execute -it Red Panda -0. rpk cluster info. Rpk cluster info. What was the command? Let me copy paste that command. Rp red panda 0. So you could see now we have the three brokers. So three broker RBM, and we you could see one topic. So what is the topic name? Underscore schema. So the topics which start with the underscore, these are the internal topic basically. So these are the internal topics which already exist. And three replicas means, and this schema is replicated like across all the three brokers. So that's why it says three replicas. All right. So it says, that's why it says three replicas. Okay, so now let's try to do that. Let's try to create our topics and the same commands like which we used earlier. So let me do that. So let's try to create the topic. So to create the topic, this is the command like a chat room to topic create chat room. And now we are going to give the replication factor 3. So if you did not give, then it is going to create one topic, but in any of the broker. So in any of the broker is going to be create. But if we give replication factor 3, replication factor this, it should create the topic, but it should replicate to other broker as well. So why we are doing this replication? Because, and why we are creating multi broker? Because if one broker is going to be down, our the other brokers are there and data should not be lost. So minus R3. So you could see chat room has been created. So now let's try to do some command describe, and it is Redpanda 0. So you could see it has one partition and three replicas, which is fine. And even if you come to the console here and if you do refresh, now you could see two topics and six replicas. So one topic is the schema, and second is our the one which we have created. All right. And if you see there are three replicas. Why three replicas? So it is spread across the three brokers. Right. Okay. Now let's try to produce some message. Eh, I am Red Panda. So our message has been produced. Let's try to consume that message. So our message has been consumed as well. And if you come here, so and you open the chat room, so you could see here I am Red Panda. We have one message available, and we are not passing the key, so that's why key is not. In the coming video, we will pass the key as well. Right. So we see how we can make the three brokers up. Right. Uh, but we are going to see a little bit down the further. So we are going. I am going to explain you like we already cover. Though we already cover 1 second. Though we already covered everything. What is Kafka address? What is advertised Kafka address? We already covered. But still, we are going to quick revision using some diagram. Right. So let's suppose we have two brokers. So this is our container. So and both the broker. So one. So first thing is that, so you could see the outer box. So outer box is host. So host means our machine. So this is my laptop. Host is my laptop. This outer boundary is my laptop, which is fine. And then this inner boundary is my Docker network. All right. So this inner boundary is my Docker network. So I have within my laptop, the Docker is running, which is fine. And within the Docker, I am running container Red Panda 0. I am running container Red Panda 1. I am also running container Red Panda 2. But in this diagram, I only mentioned two, but doesn't matter whether it's two or three or four, doesn't matter. So let's take it two examples. So I am making container Red Panda 2 and I make it container Red Panda 1, right? And one more container, I make it up Red Panda console, right? Right. And Red Panda console attached with the Red Panda 0 because Red Panda 0 is the leader, right? Just forget about this address. I am going to explain this, right? And we have the client as well. So client means, let's suppose we have the application, our Python application, producer and consumer application, which currently we don't have. Currently we are producing within the Docker. Currently we are consuming. So currently we run consume command and we run produce command by going inside the Docker. By going inside the Docker. So it means our client is our produce client and our consume client inside the Docker, not outside the Docker, right? But when we are going to run actual command, our actual Python application, then our client will reside outside the Docker, or it could be inside. Like it depends upon our use case, but generally it's outside, right? So it could be outside, right? So this is our host machine, and this is our client, right? Okay, if our application is Dockerized, then that definitely it is inside. If it is our application is not Dockerized, then it is outside, right? So consider it is our outside, right? So our outside client is going to connect with our Redpanda 0 and Redpanda 1, both the container. Okay. Now come to the address. Which address is going to be used when? So this Redpanda 0 has Kafka address, and it has both Kafka address, internal and external. I just mentioned 9092.19092. And this Redpanda 1 also has two Kafka address, and Kafka address is two parameter, internal and external. So I have mentioned. So if you come here, so internal is 9092, external is 19092, and internal is 9092, external is 29092. So we have mentioned that as well. Along with that, this Redpanda 0 and Redpanda 1 has the advertise Kafka address as well. So if you see, there are advertise Kafka address, and advertise also has internal and external. So here I mention external, which is localhost 29092. Okay. So as soon as you see na external, internal, internal, right? So when you see this internal means if this internal address is only going to be used if any application or either broker itself is going to access within the docker network, then internal is going to be used. But whether internal of Kafka address, whether internal of advertise Kafka address, whether internal of Panda proxy address, that is a different scenario. But when you say internal means if anything within the Docker container trying to access, then it is going to use internal. If anything which is outside the Docker network, then it is going to use the external. Okay. So now our client is external application, right? It is not in the Docker. So it is going to use the external address. But whether it is going to use external address, this one, this one, this one, which one, right? So if it is going to connect using REST API, then definitely it is going to use this one, advertise Panda proxy, right? Definitely it is going to use this one. So, but now we are not going to connect with the REST API. We are normally connecting with our Python code. Then it is going to use the advertise Kafka address. So advertise Kafka address is being used by the external application. External application. When I say external, right? So when I say external, so external, there are not two bits here. So don't get confused, because here we have mentioned internal, here we have mentioned external, and I am also saying external. So don't get confused. So if you want, I can explain in Hindi as well. So external means like the third application, basically the another application. So that is an external application outside the Kafka cluster. So if it is outside the Kafka cluster, that is external application. But that external application, whether it exists internal to the Docker or external to the Docker, that is also. So if it is outside the Kafka cluster, so producer and consumer and Docker compose, Red Panda console. So let me let me let me let me write here. 1 minute. Let me open some text file, some dummy file. So my external application are which application? Producer, consumer, Red Panda, console, right? Producer and consumer reside on my host, or you can say outside Docker network, right? And this is also it's outside Docker network. And Red Panda console, this is container, so that's why it is inside Docker network. But all the three application are external to Kafka cluster. External to Kafka cluster, right? Okay, now which address it is being to use? So if it is external application, then it is going to use the advertise Kafka address. So where my notepad? So when producer trying to connect, it is also use advertise Kafka address. When consumer trying to connect, it is also trying to use the Kafka address. When Redpanda console trying to connect, it is also use the Kafka address. Okay. So it will come to the advertised Kafka address. But within the advertised Kafka address, whether it's going to use the internal, whether it's going to use the internal, because it is inside the Docker network, so it is going to use this one. And because that is outside the Docker network, so it is going to use this one. All right. So hopefully now it's clear when I am saying internal and external. All right. So that's why if you see in my diagram, let me go to that. So in my diagram, so when there is an external client, so it is going to connect with the localhost 2902, but it is advertised Kafka address. So producer and consumer are my outside application. It is trying to connect with the advertised Kafka address, but localhost 9092 or 19092, like, all right. But when it is Red Panda console, it is also connect with the advertised Kafka address, but with Red Panda 0. So it is also connect with the advertised Kafka address, but with Red Panda 0. So even if you see the Docker Compose file, so this is the Red Panda console. Red Panda console is going to attach with the broker, but with Red Panda 02902. So, and what is Red Panda 02902? It is advertised address. All right. Okay. So now hopefully this is clear. Advertised Kafka address is for the external application, external to the Kafka cluster, external to the Kafka cluster. Okay. Now come to the Kafka address. Now come to the Kafka address. Within the Kafka address, it is mentioned two addresses, internal and external. All right. Internal and external. So these are the broker. This is for the broker use. This is for the Kafka structure, Kafka structure use, right? So this client want to connect with a broker. Broker said, I know my address, I know both address, but I don't want to expose this address. So that's why broker advertise. Advertise means a kind of advertisement. Like in the movie, we get some advertisement. In the YouTube videos, we get some like advertisement in between. So it advertise this address to the client. Advertisement, you have to use this address. Okay. So client use either localhost 19092, client use either localhost 2902 to connect with the like to connect with the broker. And as soon as it come to the broker, right? But broker use which address? Broker is going to use the Kafka address. So let me show you. So how it is going to be run. So producer is outside the Docker network. So these are the external client. So these external client will not going to connect directly with the internal addresses. So that's why Kafka provided advertised address. So any external client should not know its internal IP. You can say, you can consider as an internal IP and external IP, a kind of thing. So advertised Kafka address is kind of external IP, and Kafka address is kind of an internal IP. So ideally, the user, ideally the customer should not know the internal IP. Customer should know the external IP, right? So these are my customer, producer, consumer, and Red Panda console. So customer should know the external IP. So external IP is advertised Kafka address, advertised Kafka address, advertised Kafka address. But whether that customer, where that customer reside, if it is reside somewhere else, okay, then it is using this. If it is within the same VPC, then it is using this, right? Now, when it going here, but that is the external client. To connect actually with the broker, it should know its internal address. So as soon as it's come here, it is going to connect with the, it is going to connect with the external of, so 000 is the internal IP. So you can say it is the external IP, then external IP is linked with the internal IP. So similarly, it is with the internal IP, and this address, internal address. So internal address is for this one. So internal is going to attach with internal, external is going to attach with the internal. So external IP link with the internal IP, external IP link with the internal IP. So same thing like applicables here. So Red Panda console is external like a customer. So it should use advertise Kafka address, but it is inside the Red Panda console. So it should use internal advertised Kafka address, which is Redpanda 0, 19092. But this is external IP. So how it should know it's internal IP? So it is going to connect with the internal 009092. So it is going to connect with the external 9092. All right. So hopefully like some bits are clear. All right. And we already make our cluster up. And so in the coming video, we are actually going to write some producer application to produce the message using Python, because this tutorial is not only for the Kafka, this is tutorial for the Kafka with Python. So that's it. That's the end of the video. Thank you.